Hello friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. I swear to you, what I'm about to say ain't no tall tale or truck stop myth. This happened, every word of it. I've been hauling loads across America for over 2 decades, seen every kind of roadkill, slept in every kind of weather, and driven through places so empty you'd think God forgot him. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for that night on Route 220. It started like any other haul-smooth load from Alabama to Pennsylvania. Night was clear, road was quiet. I had my coffee, my playlist, my GPS locked in. Around 112A. I was just north of Roanoke, Virginia, coasting downhill with the lights of the valley flickering in the distance, when I saw it, or her, couldn't be sure. There was this figure, standing in the middle of the highway, pale, motionless, wearing what looked like a hospital gown. Now, I've seen folks try to play chicken before, or cause a scene for insurance scams. So I hit the horn long and loud, but she didn't move, not an inch. I swerved hard into the shoulder, tires screaming, my trailer fishtailing behind me. Thank God the road was empty. I came to a stop a good 30 yards ahead, heart pounding like a jackhammer, and looked into my side mirror. Nothing. Nobody. I thought maybe I imagined it. Lack of sleep, maybe too much caffeine. But then I saw the footprints, clear as day, wet and dark against the pavement, bare feet. And they weren't just walking along the highway, they led straight up to my truck. I locked the doors, which is something I almost never do, and turned on every damn light. I had high beams, cabin lights, fog lamps, everything. And still, nothing. That's when my radio cut out. Just a loud screeching static that rose higher and higher till it sounded like screaming. I slapped it off and reached for my phone, but the screen was black. Dead? I just charged it. I ain't the type to scare easy. I've slept in sketchy lots, fought off thieves, even outrun a few tornadoes. But something about that moment, that impossible silence, it felt wrong. Like the whole world had gone still just to watch me. I was about to pull back onto the road when I saw her again. In my rearview camera. Closer this time. Too close. She was standing just behind my trailer, facing away, hair soaked, gown fluttering like it was underwater. And then, God help me, she turned around, and her eyes. Weren't there dot her face? It wasn't just pale, it was drained, like all the blood had left her skin years ago. Her eyes were nothing but dark, sunken pits, and where her mouth should have been was this crooked, gaping hole that twitched like it was trying to smile. I couldn't move. My hands were locked on the wheel, knuckles white, engine idling low. And then, just like that, the lights inside the cab flickered and went out. The dashboard went dark. My heart was pounding so loud, I could feel it echo in my throat. I don't know why, but I reached over and grabbed my flashlight from the glove box, more out of instinct than logic. I wasn't about to get out. Hell no, but I had to know if she was still back there. I flipped on the flashlight and pointed it toward the rearview monitor, but the camera feed was gone. Static. I leaned out the driver's side window, slowly, not daring to look down at first. The night air was cold. Unnaturally cold, like the kind that slips into your bones even if you're bundled up. I scanned my mirrors, checked the passenger side, nothing. No movement, no sound, just a heavy, crushing silence. That was when I heard tapping. Not at the door, not at the window. It was coming from the inside of the cab. I whipped around, flashlight shaking in my hand, and aimed it toward the sleeper compartment. And there she was, sitting in my bunk like she belonged there. wet hair dripping onto my pillow, bare feet dangling off the edge. That face, that horrible stretched grin slowly curling wider, impossibly wider, like her skin was tearing from the strain. I screamed. I ain't proud of it, but I screamed like a damn child. I threw the flashlight at her and scrambled to the passenger seat, trying to yank open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Locked tight. My fingers fumbled the central lock button, hit it over, and finally the door clicked. I tumbled out onto the gravel shoulder, scraping my knee, but I didn't stop. I ran 10, maybe 15 feet before I turned around. And the cab was empty. She was gone, vanished. The truck lights flicked back on, dashboard lit up like normal, and the engine purred like nothing happened. I waited outside for what felt like forever, flashlight long gone, heart thudding so hard I thought it might burst. When I finally worked up the courage to climb back in, everything was in its place except for one thing. On the pillow in my bunk, right where she sat, was a single handprint, wet, bare, small. I put that rig in gear and took off faster than I ever have. Didn't stop till the next truck stop 80 miles up. And the whole way there, every time I glanced in the mirror, I swore I could see her in the reflection. Not clearly, just a shape, a shadow, watching me. And I ain't ashamed to admit I didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. I didn't haul a load for 3 days after that. Parked my rig behind the diner out in Beckley, West Virginia, and just sat there, windows rolled down, engine off, watching the world go by like I was waiting for her to show up again. Couldn't shake her, couldn't eat. Every shadow looked like her hair. Every reflection had me second-guessing my sanity. I even ripped the rear-view camera off the dash. I'd rather not see than catch her staring back at me again. Now I know. What some of y'all are thinking: sleep deprivation, highway hypnosis, too many energy drinks, and late nights. But listen to me. I've driven through Death Valley, got caught in whiteout blizzards up in Montana, once saw a dude walking barefoot in the middle of a Kansas highway with a crow on his shoulder at 3 a.m. Nothing, and I mean nothing, felt like this. This wasn't just creepy. It was evil, pure and simple. And just when I thought maybe, just maybe, it was a one-time thing, I started getting messages, not on my phone, in my logbook. The first time, I thought I'd scribbled something while half asleep. I opened it one morning to review my mileage, and right there on a blank page were 3 words: "She's still here." I stared at that page for a good 10 minutes. I ain't the kind to scare easy, but my fingers were shaking like a leaf in a storm. I ripped that page out, threw it in the diner's trash, and tried to forget about it. But 2 days later, it was back. Not the same paper, but the same writing, same words, only this time underlined, twice. She's still here. I didn't tell nobody. I figured, who'd believe me anyway? My dispatcher already thinks I'm a weirdo for keeping a dream catcher on my rearview mirror and salting my tires every full moon. But something was happening. Every time I got behind the wheel, the cab felt colder. Not the kind of cold the AC makes. I mean a deep chill that gets in your lungs, slows your blood. The radio would pick up stations that didn't exist. I swear, one time I was driving through Tennessee and the speakers started playing this old, wailing song, just a woman's voice, humming something sad and broken. No words, just grief. I checked the frequency. It wasn't even tuned to a station. And that same night, every time I passed an exit sign, the green paint looked darker, almost black, like the names had been burned into the metal. I started wondering if maybe she'd followed me. Or worse, maybe I never left her highway. Maybe I'd crossed into something else that night, something that don't show up on no map. And let me tell you, when you start thinking like that, every mile marker feels like a countdown. I kept driving anyway. What else was I supposed to do? Bills don't stop just 'cause you're seeing ghosts. But I started picking my routes more carefully, sticking to daylight runs when I could, avoiding Route 220 like it was the plague. But these things, they don't care what road you're on. I found that out the hard way one night outside of Amarillo. I'd been hauling a load of refrigerated meats cross-country, tight schedule, no time to sleep. Around 2:30 a.m., I pulled into this little rest stop. Real backwoods place, old vending. Machines and a couple flickering overhead lights. Not another soul in sight. I parked in the corner, engine idling low, figured I'd catch a 10-minute nap before pushing through. I leaned back, eyes barely closed, when I heard it again. That tapping, light at first. Like fingernails on the metal. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. Every hair on my arm stood up. I reached for the dome light, clicked it on, looked around. Nothing. Checked both mirrors. Empty. Then the tapping got louder. Faster. Tap dash, tap dash, tap dash, tap. It wasn't coming from the doors this time. It was coming from the roof. My cab's a standard height, about 12 feet tall. Ain't no way someone could just climb up there, not without a ladder. But the sound was unmistakable. Something was up there. Walking, scraping. Then, silence. For a few seconds, all I could hear was my own breathing, ragged and sharp. Then came the bang. Something slammed against the windshield from above, so hard I thought the glass would shatter. I jumped back, heart hammering, and that's when I saw it. A face. Pressed against the glass from outside, upside down, hair hanging straight down, same pale skin, same black hollows for eyes. But her mouth wasn't just open, no. It was wide, unhinged, stretching inhumanly, her jaw cracking as it reached the bottom of the windshield. I didn't think. I started the truck full throttle, tires squealing as I peeled out of that rest stop. I didn't stop for hours, not even to piss. Just kept driving, watching the mirrors like a madman. I didn't see her again that night, but I felt her. The entire cab was cold as a freezer. My breath fogged up the windows. The smell like mold and wet leaves and something rotting stayed in my nose for miles. And when I finally got to a way station, just outside Albuquerque, and popped the hood to check the engine, I found a small, pale handprint right there on the chrome, like she'd held on, like she'd been with me the whole damn ride. I didn't sleep for 2 days after that. I kept the cab lights on all night. Didn't matter. Sometimes, even in broad daylight, I'd catch a glimpse of her in the corner of my eye, standing just behind me, smiling, watching, waiting. I started questioning everything after that. My grip on reality, my memories, even my own damn senses. It's one thing to see something weird once, maybe twice. You brush it off, tell yourself it was exhaustion or a trick of the lights. But when it follows you across state lines, when it starts leaving signs, marks, smells when it starts talking, you can't write it off anymore. Yeah, that's right, talking. The first time I heard her voice, I was passing through the Oklahoma Panhandle. Wide open nothing. Just flat road, wind, and the low growl of my engine. I'd been up nearly 30 hours, pushing it because I couldn't sleep anymore. What was the point? Sleep just brought her closer. That night, I was chewing on sunflower seeds, flipping through radio stations to stay awake when the signal cut out. Again, but this time it wasn't static. There was whispering, low, soft, female. I turned the volume down. Still there. Turned the radio off completely. The whispering kept going, clear as day. It wasn't coming from the speakers. It was coming from the CB. Now I hadn't touched the CB in months. Don't use it much these days, except to chat with other drivers when there's a wreck up ahead. But the damn thing was live, crackling gently like someone had keyed their mic and left it open. "Come back," she said. I swear on my life, that's what I heard. "Come back," just like that, over and over. "Come back, come back, come back." I stared at the mic, didn't touch it. My hands were shaking, and I felt this pressure in my ears, like being deep underwater. "Why'd you leave me?" she asked next. That's when I slammed the volume knob all the way down and unplugged the whole damn unit. Didn't matter. The whispering kept going, not through the CB anymore, through the speakers in the cab, through the air, like she was in the truck with me. I could feel breath on the back of my neck, not wind, not a breeze, breath, warm and steady, like someone was standing inches behind my headrest. I couldn't take it anymore. I veered off at the next exit, didn't care where it led, just needed off the highway. Ended up on this dark 2-lane road that wound through the woods. No lights, no signs, just trees pressing in like they wanted to swallow the truck whole. And the whole time, her voice kept repeating, whispering soft like lullabies sung by the dead. "You were supposed to stay. Why'd you leave? Come back." Then the engine died, just like that, in the middle of nowhere. All systems off, lights, brakes, everything. Dead quiet, dead still. And in the reflection of the black windshield, I saw her standing in the sleeper cab again. No face this time. Just a black void where her head should be. And her cold, wet hand, was reaching for my shoulder. I couldn't scream, couldn't breathe. It was like my whole chest locked up, every muscle frozen, my fingers gripping the steering. Wheels so tight I thought they might snap off. Her hand hovered inches from my shoulder, fingers twitching like they were trying to remember how to move. I could feel the cold coming off her, this unnatural, bone-deep chill that soaked through my clothes and made my teeth chatter. My vision blurred at the edges, but I forced myself to look straight ahead, refusing to glance back, not even a twitch. I don't know how long we sat there like that, me and whatever she was. Seconds? Minutes? Time didn't feel real in that moment. Then, just as suddenly, she was gone. The cab warmed up, the lights flickered back to life, and the engine roared. Like nothing ever happened. I took off again, didn't even look at the GPS, didn't care where I was headed, just needed to get as far away from those woods as humanly possible. But the road didn't end. I'm not joking. I drove for hours, headlights cutting through fog that hadn't been there before, trees on both sides like prison bars, no road signs, no towns, no exits, nothing. Just blacktop stretching on into forever. It didn't feel like Texas or Oklahoma or anywhere. It felt wrong. Like I'd crossed over into a place that trucks weren't meant to go. A place that was hers. My gas gauge didn't move. My phone still wouldn't turn on. My wristwatch stopped ticking. It was like the world itself had stopped caring about me. And every so often, through the fog, I'd see her walking along the side of the road. Same hospital gown, same wet hair, but she didn't look at me. She'd just walk, barefoot and broken, arms limp by her sides, like she was leading me somewhere. Or worse, like I was following her. I tried to turn the truck around once, hit the brakes, threw it in reverse, turned the wheel hard left. But when I looked back at the road behind me, it was gone. Just trees, dense, black trees as far as I could see. No road, no shoulder, just forest. When I turned forward again, there she was standing in the middle of the road, staring at me, with those hollow sockets. And this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her were others, dozens, maybe hundreds, all in hospital gowns, all barefoot, all pale, silent, and staring. Every single one of them had no eyes, just dark empty sockets like burned-out candles. I slammed my foot on the accelerator, truck roaring as it plowed forward, but when I reached them, they vanished. Just gone. The road was clear again. I kept driving until finally I saw a sign up ahead. A real, green, highway-grade exit sign. It read, "Welcome back." No town name, no number, just "Welcome back." And underneath it, smeared in something dark and crusted, were the words, "You never left." I don't even remember pulling off the road. 1 minute I was staring at that eerie green sign that said, "Welcome back," and the next I was parked behind some run-down gas station that looked like it hadn't been open in 20 years. Windows boarded up, pumps rusted and dry. No lights, just the truck idling and me gripping the wheel, sweating like I'd run a marathon through ice. I shut off the engine, stepped out slowly, and tried to get my bearings. That's when I saw my reflection in the side mirror. But it wasn't right. It looked like me, same jacket, same ball cap, same tired eyes, but the mouth was smiling. I wasn't smiling. Not even close. My reflection stood still while I moved. I raised my hand, he didn't. I blinked, he didn't. He just kept smiling, lips curled up way too wide, like something was wearing me like a costume. I backed away from the mirror, heart thudding, and that's when the air changed. It got thick, like breathing through wet cloth, and the scent hit the earth, mildew, and decay. The same scent I remembered from that first night. She was near. I spun around, scanning the empty lot. Nothing. No one. But I could feel her, like her presence was stitched into the very air. I climbed back in the truck, slammed the door, locked it tight. That's when I noticed something scratched into the dashboard with a sharp object, maybe a nail. 3 words. Just like before. She's inside now. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I reached behind me into the sleeper cab, ripping the curtain open, and it was empty. Blankets untouched, no footprints, no dampness. But still, the temperature had dropped. So low, I could see my breath. My fingers were numb on the steering wheel. I turned the key, tried to start the engine, but it didn't catch. Tried again. Nothing. 3rd time, the whole truck jerked like something heavy landed on top of it. I froze. And then came the creaking slow, metallic creaking like someone was crawling along the roof again. Then something dragged across the top. Nails, maybe. Or bones. And then a whisper. This time, right behind my ear. "You brought me with you." I whipped around, but there was no one there. My eyes darted to the mirrors. Still no one. But in the frost forming on the inside of the windshield, I saw words forming on there. Like someone invisible was writing with their fingertip. "You're part of it now." That's when the engine finally roared back to life on its own. No key turn, no button. It just started. Lights turned on, dials lit up, heater blasting. Warm air. The truck was ready, like it wanted to go. Like she wanted me to go. I didn't argue. I floored it out of that dead station lot, tires spitting gravel, trying to outrun whatever the hell I just brought with me. But deep down, I knew something. I didn't want to admit. I wasn't driving anymore. Not really. I was just the passenger now. I wish I could tell you that was the worst of it, but it wasn't. That was just the beginning. After that night, things changed. Not just out on the road, but in me. I stopped recognizing myself in small ways, like forgetting what day it was, or where I was going. I'd wake up in my sleeper cab with no memory of how I got to the rest stop. One time, I came to with a full tank of gas that I swear I didn't pump. My logbook had entries in my handwriting that I know I didn't write, times, places, little messages tucked in the margins. Things like, "She's almost ready," or it's better if you don't fight. My dispatcher called once, asked why I rerouted through Louisiana when I was supposed to be heading north to St. Louis. I didn't even know I had. Checked my GPS history. It showed me passing through towns I'd never heard of, with names that don't exist on any official map. And every one of those towns, every single one had the same thing in common. No people. Just fog. Abandoned cars. Empty houses with lights still on. One town had dozens of old shoes lined up neatly in the middle of the main street, all pointing west. No people. Just shoes. Another had doors wide open, tables set for dinner, plates of food long rotted, but no one there. I stopped getting out of the truck after a while. Whatever was happening, I figured it was safer to stay inside the cab. But even that didn't help. I started hearing things from inside the trailer. Whispering, faint crying, sometimes tapping, like fingernails across metal. I hauled freight that weighed half what it was supposed to. I'd check the manifest, then check the trailer, and there'd be nothing inside but shadows and cold air. One night in Arizona, I opened the back door, and it didn't look like the inside of a trailer at all. It looked like a hallway narrow, hospital white, with flickering fluorescent lights. I slammed the doors shut and locked them, heart about ready to tear through my chest. Sat in the driver's seat for 2 hours, engine off, lights out, just holding my breath. When I opened the doors again, back to normal. Frozen meat, stacked and labeled. Like nothing happened. But I know what I saw. And I think that hallway was hers. I think she wants me to go in next time. And the worst part? Some sick part of me wants to. Like she's in my head now, turning me into something else. I don't dream anymore. Haven't in weeks. Or maybe I do, and I just don't wake up from them. I started leaving notes for myself. Scraps of paper taped to the dash, written in thick Sharpie, things like, "Don't follow her," or "Check the mirrors twice." I didn't trust my own memory anymore. Sometimes I'd find these notes torn up or water damaged, even though I hadn't opened the windows or let anyone near the truck. One morning in Nebraska, I woke up to find a note I never wrote stuck right to the steering wheel. It was scribbled in something too dark to be ink, and it read, "Stop running. She's already inside." That one sent a chill so deep, I thought I might never warm up again. I tore it up and threw it out the window, but I swear the smell of it stuck in the cab for days. Like old blood and cold iron, I tried to quit. I really did. I parked the truck at a depot in Kentucky, handed over the keys, told dispatch I was taking time off. They said I already had. Claimed I'd requested 2 weeks off starting last month. I never did. But when they showed me the system log, there it was. My name, my code, my signature. I didn't argue. I just walked out, got in a motel off the highway, and stared at the ceiling for hours. I thought I was finally free. That maybe, just maybe, stepping away from the road would break whatever spell she had on me. But that night, in that stale motel room, I woke up at 3:33 a.m. sharp. Not because of a nightmare, because of a noise. A low hum, deep and rhythmic, like the idling engine of a diesel truck. But I was on the second floor. There was no truck outside. I looked out the window anyway, and what I saw made my skin crawl. There was my exact truck parked under the flickering streetlight. Engine running, headlights on, but no one in the driver's seat. No one anywhere. I hadn't brought the truck with me. I left it in Kentucky. This was 3 states over. I backed away from the glass, heart hammering. My phone buzzed. First time it had worked in days. Just one message. No number. Just 4 words. "Come take your seat." I threw the phone across the room. When I looked back out the window, the truck's headlights were off. but something was still inside. A shape, a shadow sitting perfectly still in the cab, watching, waiting. The next morning, it was gone. No tire marks. No sign it had ever been. There. Just my own footprints in the parking lot from where I stood frozen in the night. I left that motel before the sun was up. Didn't check out. Didn't pack. I knew then I wasn't going to be allowed to walk away from this. She'd chosen me. And once you've been chosen, the highway never lets you go. I kept driving, though every mile felt like I was sinking further into a nightmare I could neither escape nor fully understand. The road blurred beneath my tires as I stared into the eye. Endless dark, wondering if every twist and turn was leading me directly into the clutches of that relentless presence. I found myself weaving between headlights of passing rigs, each face in the mirrors a silent reminder that I wasn't alone on that cursed highway. Yet deep down, I knew no other driver could see what I was witnessing. I recalled the endless whispers, the soft hissing of her voice when I least expected it, echoing through the hollows of my mind like a sinister lullaby. I began to fear not only the spectral figure stalking my every turn, but also the possibility that this trail of terror had seeped into my very being, altering me in ways that defied logic. With every passing exit sign, the landscape became stranger, a once familiar world transformed into a collage of twisted reflections and eerie silhouettes. At one point, I cruised through a long abandoned service plaza where the neon lights flickered sporadically, casting distorted shadows that danced on cracked concrete. A row of rusted trucks, their paint peeled away by time and neglect, lined up as if waiting for something unspeakable to occur. I remember stopping for a moment, heart pounding in my ears, my eyes scanning every inch of that forsaken place. It was then I sensed something shifting in the stillness. The silence around me broke with an unnatural sound, like the scraping of metal against metal, reverberating through the empty lot. I leaned in close, straining to pick up any hint of its origin, but all I got was the hiss of cold wind and an inexplicable feeling of being marked. I felt as though invisible fingers were running along my spine, urging me to press on even as dread clamped down on my chest. I resumed my journey, every sensor in my mind on high alert, the dashboard clock ticking a relentless march toward an unknown fate. I noticed that every time I slowed down for a rest stop or a gas break, the air around me seemed to thicken with an ominous energy, as though the very atmosphere was tainted by her presence. I couldn't shake the notion that the highway was evolving into something otherworldly, an endless corridor where reality mixed with an unfathomable terror. Each groan of the truck's engine, each crackle on the radio, echoed like an ominous prelude to a calamity that I both dreaded and awaited. I pressed my hands firmly onto the wheel, promising myself that no matter how twisted the path got, I would keep driving, if only to prove that I was still in command of my own destiny. But that feeling of being in control, it was a lie. Deep down I knew it. Every mile I drove, every town I passed, felt more like I was following her path, not mine. Like she had laid it all out, long before I ever turned the key in the ignition. You ever hear your own name on the wind? Not in a poetic way, literally. Driving through Utah one night, nothing but desert around, and the wind started picking up something awful. Dust swirling across the highway, sky dark with clouds that weren't there a minute ago. I slowed down, leaned forward, peering through the windshield, and I heard it. Caleb. That's my name. Real soft at first, like a whisper coming through the CB, but the CB was unplugged. I turned the radio off, killed the engine. Sat there, dead still. The wind outside kicked harder, whistling through cracks like it was trying to find a way in. And then again, louder this time. Caleb. Clear, female, not angry, not panicked, just sad, broken. It wasn't a voice you could ignore. It sounded like she knew me, like she'd always known me. That's the part that rattled me more than anything. I'd never believed in fate or curses, but this wasn't chance. She picked me for a reason, and I was starting to feel like it had something to do with what I saw in those ghost towns, what I heard in the trailers, what I was becoming. That same night, I stopped to rest at a diner I'd been to dozens of times before. Old joint in Nevada, out by the salt flats, normally packed with drivers and regulars. But that night, it was empty. Not a soul inside. Door was unlocked, lights were on, coffee was hot, but no people. I stepped in slow, calling out, "Hello?" No answer. The jukebox in the corner started up on its own. Some slow, sad country tune I'd never heard before. The kind of song that makes your chest hurt. I sat down, mostly just to calm my nerves. Looked at the menus, which hadn't changed in 10 years. Then I saw my name, printed in the specials section. Not scribbled, not handwritten. Printed in the same font as everything else. Driver's platter, Caleb's favorite. I felt sick. Stood up fast, chair clattering backward, and ran out. But when I got back to my rig, it wasn't parked where I left it. It was idling across the lot, trailer lights glowing soft red in the dark, door wide open. Like it had moved itself. Like it was waiting for me. I didn't want to get in. Every part of my gut screamed, "Don't do it." But I knew, even then, even before I climbed back in, that I didn't have a choice anymore. The highway wanted me, and she wasn't done yet. I climbed back into the truck with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The driver's seat felt colder than usual, like someone had been sitting there, someone who didn't leave behind body heat, only the residue of something darker. I stared at the wheel, half expecting it to turn on its own, and for a moment I just sat there, trying to breathe, trying to ground myself. But something had shifted. I could feel it in my bones. Like the line between my world and hers had gotten so thin, the smallest breeze could tear it wide open. The dashboard lights flickered, then dimmed, then returned to full brightness, and the GPS came on by itself. There was no destination entered, just a glowing red line tracing a road I didn't recognize. I tried to cancel the route. The screen didn't respond. I turned the whole unit off, even pulled the cable from the back. Still glowed. Still pulsed, slow and red, like a heartbeat. I didn't know where it wanted me to go, but something deep inside me whispered that I already had been there. I put the truck in drive and followed the red line. I didn't want to. God knows I didn't want to. But my hands moved without thinking. My foot pressed the pedal, and the rig rolled forward like it was possessed. The road ahead looked normal at first. Same cracked asphalt, same broken mile markers, same whistling wind. But the farther I drove, the darker it got. Not just night dark, deeper, raw. The headlights barely pierced the blackness, and the trees on either side leaned in, like they were trying to block me from turning back. I passed a sign I couldn't read, letters twisted, almost like they were still melting into shape. Then I saw a truck up ahead, parked sideways across the road, lights off, hazard flashers clicking rhythmically. I slowed down, leaned on the horn, but nothing moved. No driver, no sound, just those flashers blinking like warning eyes. I got out against every ounce of better judgment and walked toward it. The cab was empty. Door open, keys in the ignition, driver's log still on the dash. I picked it up. The last entry was scrawled fast and messy, like the guy wrote it just before fleeing. "She's behind you." I dropped it and spun around, flashlight already shaking in my hand. But there was no one there, just my truck and her. She was sitting in my driver's seat. No face, just that black void again, like she was wearing shadows for skin. Her head turned slowly, impossibly slow, and even without eyes, I knew she was looking at me. I backed up, heart slamming in my chest, too scared to scream, too stunned to move. Then she opened her mouth, and I don't mean a scream or a growl or any human sound. What came out of her was a roar, a low, deafening howl that felt like it came from the center of the earth, vibrating through my ribs and shaking the trees. Lights exploded, my ears rang, and in that moment, I knew the truth. I was never meant to leave Route 220. I wasn't just passing through her stretch of road. I was claimed by it. When I came to, I was sitting in the driver's seat again. The truck was moving. Not fast, just cruising down some endless stretch of two-lane highway, trees bending in unnatural ways on both sides. My hands were on the wheel, but I wasn't the one steering. The wheel twitched every so often, like someone else had their hands over mine. I looked around, the cab empty. No sign of her, not in the seat, not in the sleeper, not outside. But I could feel her. I could feel her the way you feel a fever building in your skull. The air was too still, too quiet. No bugs, no wind, no tire hum. Just the soft, low thrum of something watching me. I tried to hit the brakes, nothing. The pedal was stiff. I turned, the wheel wouldn't budge. The GPS flickered to life again, and now the screen was pitch black, except for one glowing word in red, HOME. That's when I saw the signs. Not highway signs. These were hand-painted boards nailed to trees and fence posts along the road. Things like, "This is where they end. Keep your eyes forward, and she remembers." One sign had my name on it. My full name. Caleb Thomas Wren. No one knows my middle name except maybe my mama, and she's been gone 10 years. I wanted to scream, to throw the wheel, to jump out of the moving truck, if that's what it took. But I couldn't. My body wouldn't listen. It was like being trapped behind my own eyes. That road twisted in impossible ways. One minute I was in pine forest, then desert, and misty swampland, all within minutes. No transitions. No warning. Like the landscape was changing around me, rewriting itself as I passed through. And the people, if you could even call them that, shadows on the roadside. Silent figures that turned to face the truck as I passed. No faces, just outlines, some tall, some small, some crawling, some dragging things behind them. They didn't move, didn't chase, they just watched. Then came the children. I'll never forget that part. A stretch of road lined with tiny figures, children-sized, dressed in what looked like old-school uniforms, hands at their sides, heads tilted just a little too far, and their mouths, every one of them, wide open, not screaming, just open, like they were frozen mid-sentence. I passed them slowly, the truck inching along like it was paying respect. One of them moved, just a twitch of the fingers. But it was enough. I looked in the mirror. Big mistake. She was sitting in the sleeper again, behind the curtain. Except this time the curtain was open, and she wasn't alone. There were others now. A whole row of them, lined up like passengers on a bus. Eyes missing. Mouths stitched. And all of them staring forward like they were waiting for something. For me, I snapped back to the road. It was gone. Just blackness ahead. No sky, no trees, no ground. Just a long, yawning void like the world had ended. And I was driving straight into it. I don't know how long I drove through that void. Could have been minutes, hours, maybe days. Time didn't mean anything there. No sky, no stars, no sun or moon. Just black stretching out in every direction like I'd fallen off the edge of the world and kept on going. And the truck, it kept humming like it knew where it was headed, like she was guiding it now. I sat there, barely breathing, headlights cutting through a darkness that swallowed everything beyond 20 feet. My fingers were locked on the wheel, not because I was steering, but because letting go felt like giving up the last thing that made me human. Then just ahead, I saw it, a single light, faint and flickering like a candle in a storm. As I got closer, I saw it was a gas station. Not some modern stop, no diesel bays or fast food chains. Just an old two-pump joint from a different time, rusted out, windows cracked, and a single orange bulb swaying above the door. But what really made my blood freeze was the truck parked beside it. My truck, the original one. Same rust spots. Same dent on the fender from a deer I clipped back in '08. Same dream catcher dangling from the mirror. I slammed the brakes and stumbled out, boots hitting ground that felt softer than it should have, like ash or old bone dust. I walked up to the parked truck, heart pounding, mouth dry as sandpaper. The cab was empty. Door unlocked, engine off. But there was something lying on the driver's seat. My logbook, the real one. The one I lost the night she first appeared. I reached in, grabbed it, and flipped through the pages. My handwriting, my roots. But the last page was different. Just 4 words scrawled across it in thick black ink. You brought them all. I didn't understand until I turned around. The shadows were there. Hundreds of them. Faces I'd seen in my mirrors. Towns I'd passed through. The children on the road. The figures in the forest. All of them watching me now. And at the center of them stood her. Not angry. Not screaming. Just still. Calm. Like a mother welcoming her lost child home. She raised one hand slow, deliberate, and pointed toward the truck. Not the old one. Mine. The one I'd been driving all this time. And behind the wheel was me, or something that looked like me, smiling, gripping the wheel. Eyes pitch black. It nodded once. Then slowly, the engine revved, and it pulled away into the void, leaving me there, alone. That's when it hit me. I'd never left Route 220 that night. I died there, or maybe disappeared. Maybe she took me. And everything after, every mile, every ghost town, every voice was part of the trap. She didn't want to kill me. She wanted to use me. My truck, my face, my logbooks, my voice, to bring more in. And now I'm stuck here, telling this story, hoping some other driver hears it and turns around before it's too late, before the GPS reroutes you, before you see her on the side of the road. If you're listening to this, do me a favor. Don't stop on 220. Don't slow down. Don't look in your mirrors. And whatever you do, don't pick up hitchhikers, especially the ones in hospital gowns. Because once you see her, she sees you too.